Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is Leetcode Weekly Contest 192. Let's get started, I guess, when the clock goes down. But yeah, wish me luck. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments how you did this contest. Which problems did you like? Which problems did you hate? Let me know. I just woke up. It's 10:30 a.m. Didn't get enough sleep, so definitely will need all the luck in about 10 seconds. I'll just give myself last second meditation or whatever. Let's go. And here we go to some internet problems. I think that phrased me a little bit, to be honest, because I was just like ready to get started, but then I was like, it's not loading. But I am a little bit lucky in that I at least had the second problem loaded. So I was like, okay, let's just get started and then we'll see what happens. But as you can tell, my internet is. I thought it was my internet, obviously, but it turns out that leak codes have issue as well. But yeah. Q2, the k strongest value in an array. Okay, Q2, k strongest value in an array.
That's not good.
So I did start solving this one first in the contest because I tried to reload and stuff like that, and it's not loading, as you could kind of see. And I just still double check. So I wasted a lot of time just trying to dodge internet issues on this problem, but I just said, screw it. And this is about a minute in that I was like, okay, this is taking way too long. Let me just start doing this problem. So Q2, the idea is that, and I explained this a little bit better in the explanation because it's less hectic. But my thought process literally now was that there's a lot of weird internet issues, right? But basically here I was like, okay, let's get the median. Let's get the median first. I mean, I knew that I was sorting it, but I was just trying to also reread the problem because I was scanning it, but I wasn't sure that my understanding was what it was asking. So I'm just rereading the problem again here. And I think this part, I was just also double checking what the median means, right? Because actually the median that is defined in this problem is not the median that is the definition that's normally given with respect to the even number of elements in a list, right? And like if usually it's the average of the two middle numbers, but in this case I double check the definition and it was just this thing, which is the number that's closer to zero in the middle. So I get the median here, and then after that, I just convert each number to the absolute value or the absolute difference between the number and the median, and then yeah, and then sort by that, and that's it.
Oh man.
And I'm having trouble loading. As you can see, I'm refreshing and then running. I was running the code, but so actually, it seems like I got this much quicker. But I just couldn't even run the code, so I copy and then I refreshed and ran again. And then after that, I clicked on submit real quick. So I got this pretty quickly. It's just that there were a lot of issues during the contest.
Why is this so long?
But yeah, Q1 shuffled away. So this one, oh yeah, and now you could see me just going back and forth, seeing whether it fits. But Q1 shuffled it away. So basically, right now I'm just reading the problem. Basically, I knew how. I mean, this is actually literally just what mathematically is called the perfect shuffle, which means you take half the deck, left and right, and then you put it interleave it one at a time. And what I did is I just used the 2 pointers. I have a pointer to the left and pointer to the right. And I just double checked that the length of the array is is even, because if it's odd, then you have to do something smarter. I have a typo here, but because this problem is so straightforward that it's easy to, and then I check as accepted on the other problem. This problem is so straightforward that I was like, wait,
oops.
but the answers are wrong. And I'm like,
But you
yeah,
tested.
I am bad at math. Bad at typo. And then after looking at that, I was like, okay, that looks good. Submit. Done. 2 problems down. Cool. Q3, design browser history. So this one, I was just being dumb. I read this, I was like, okay, that looks pretty straightforward. I refreshed on 3 people, got it done. But yeah, but basically now I'm just looking through the constraints, and I was like, okay. Initially I was like, okay, I'm gonna use a stack, but then we have to go forward. So then I was like, maybe I want to use 2 stacks. Would that be too slow? Actually, still, I don't know. It could be. I think I should have just used 2 stacks still, maybe, because the constraint makes it so that it's fast enough, I want to say, but I wasn't sure at the time. So I was going to do a pointer, but then I thought that you might have to insert in the middle. And I didn't want to maintain the pointer in the correct way, but I end up doing it this way later on. So a little bit of a spoiler. I just made a lot of mental mistakes on this one. Namely that maybe I just didn't get enough sleep, and I was like, okay, but if I need to append, like you can't append on the thing. So I was just doing like a white stack, except for I did it in a weird way. And I think if I just did while loops, it probably would have been okay. But I was trying to be too clever, and instead it cost me a couple of things. But basically, my idea was that you have 2 arrays. You have an implicit pointer in the middle. You have the stack on the left, and then I call it a stack, but it's not really a stack anymore. And then a thing to the right, and then as you move forward and backwards, you just kind of go back and forth. But to be honest, this is really weird because now that I looked at it, there's no way this was right. So I think I was just really, and on Leetcode specifically, it's hard to test these. Well, not hard to test these, but hard to type in the test for these. So that's why I don't know. It's harder to test, and I just had to YOLO a little bit. But that all said, this is just like really wrong. So to be frank, if you're watching this at home later, I have no idea what I'm doing now. I mean, in theory, the concept makes sense, but it's not really. Because if you do back twice, it erases stuff. So there's a couple of bugs. I have off by ones, but there's just a couple of bugs in general. This is terrible. I think I just tried to do an off by one, or hope that it was off by one, but yeah, this is terrible. And the worst part is not even that I didn't get it, is that I submitted twice, so that this problem cost me 23 minutes in total or something like that, which is kind of ridiculous for a Q3. I mean, people solve the entire contest in 23 minutes, right? So, but yeah, now I'm trying to just kind of make sure that we don't go beyond the max back and max forward, which is needed. But and I just wanted, and I needed to implement something similar for forward, but yeah, not great. Because especially since my future yeah, I don't know. Just looking at this is kind of painful because it wasn't even close, and this is to be frank, this is not a hard problem. Or at least for me, it should not be a hard problem if I want to be, well practiced in these things. But some days you have bad days, so I guess it is what it is. And if your bad day is that you're still top 200, maybe that's okay. But I think this may be my worst performance in like a couple of months. But yeah. This is a little painful to watch. And the other thing is that it's luckily I spot that one, but it's really hard to read this problem and debug this problem because of not anything specific to the problem, just like the problem type. Because as you can see, I have to like eyeball all these answers. It doesn't even fit in one screen. I have to like check to see if they're right, and I wasn't thinking about clearly about how to do that because I think I should have just put everything in a notepad or something, because then it'll be more obvious whether they're right or not, versus doing this eyeball thing, which is kind of silly. But yeah, now I'm debugging, which is always not good after during a contest. You never want to debug during a contest, but you do it because you have to. Here I'm just testing the for it, but in vain because this is not working. But I would also say that I know that this problem is only 10 minutes or whatever, and so it's not even like this feels like forever. It feels like forever watching it, that's for sure. But and I click on submit, I'm like, oh no. But I wasn't that confident about this problem to begin with, to be honest. So so that part is a little sad. But what I was going to say is that you're going to struggle. There are a lot of problems, especially when it gets, when you're reaching your limits. You're going to struggle. You're going to run into issues. And on this is not as high a level, but make sure you grind it out, keep on working hard, keep on going until you can't anymore. I think that's my only advice. Because why give up? Yeah, now I'm just debugging. I'm thinking about. Right now I'm just thinking about the states, but I missed a bug that I now see, or like that I saw, but not while I was coding, obviously, because if I did,
It's probably an off by one.
This is already wrong with the back. Oh, because okay, I'm just being dumb. And now I'm just like, what am I doing? I don't know why I did this way. Yeah, let's just do it with pointers. Basically, I'm essentially starting over. And now that I do it this way, I was like, man, to myself, Larry, why did you ever even did it the other way? Ran the code, it was very wrong. So I was like, huh.
Yes. Also test example page.
Maybe it was right. It's hard to tell. I put it
A
here,
little
and I
bit
was like, huh,
rusty,
this feels wrong.
No, this should be Facebook.
No, I guess I didn't. It's hard to tell, but apparently I got this answer wrong. But I eyeballed it, and I was wrong on my eyeballing. I wish Leetcode tells you the expected answer for just the. Oh yeah, this is not by one. But I wish Leetcode told you the expected answer for the example inputs, because it's just hard to tell. And apparently I had
passed this one.
apparently I had an issue here, but I just missed it because it's really hard to tell from these long strings whether you're right
Is
or
this
not.
the example?
And I was like, when I got it, I was like,
didn't read it correctly.
I thought I checked this, but clearly,
this is what happens when you just wake up.
clearly I missed it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't test it correctly. This is part of the. This is the first back.
I mean, it looks mostly right? I just missed it in one place, and I was like, oh, I forgot one of the test cases, or not test cases, one of the constraints where you clear out the stuff after you visit.
Is it decode?
And again, debugging. Pretty painful when you have to do it during a contest.
Oh, this is just wrong. Oh my.
I'm just not thinking correctly.
I thought about this case, but then I was just like, whoops. Okay. Maybe off by one. This is just a silly day.
But yeah, now I'm just looking at the pointers. I'm like, oh, wait. Yeah, well, I'm off by one there, but in terms of cropping. But then after that, I'm like, oh, let's submit. After really double checking it this time. But yeah, that was very frustrating. It was frustrating for you to watch. It was frustrating for me to do. So
10 is pretty rough.
No, Q4 Paint House 3. So yeah, so this one I recognized. So I thought it was I think Larry was talking. I think I was so frustrated that even the other Larry is talking a little bit during the contest. Even though I should be focusing more. But this one I had inkling that at this point of the problem, I thought it was going to be dynamic programming, but just wanted to make sure. And I think the kind of annoying thing is that for me, they didn't constraints at the end, so I had to go back and forth in a couple of ways, and they use M and N's, which I guess is okay, but it was confusing for me, and I kept to keep on going back and forth to be like, what's M? Or like, M could be 100, but what is M? M is the number of houses, and I literally asked myself a few times this thing.
Target is...
Yeah, but in my mind, I thought I wasn't sure about what neighborhoods meant, so I thought there was a possibility. And in terms of painted houses, I thought that maybe it's some sort of n cube, like divide and conquer, split in the middle type dynamic programming. So that was kind of my initial thought, even though that isn't right. But I was just trying to think, okay, what does that mean? And then I look again at the constraints a little bit more. Yeah, so I'm about 2 minutes into this problem. But at this point, I think I knew what I want to do, and I knew what the states of what I wanted to be. Because I was like, okay, let's just start by going one house at a time, and you increment a new neighborhood when you paint the current house a different color than the previous house. The analysis, I will have a more detailed analysis at the end. Definitely fast forward or skip forward if you're wanting to jump into the explanation. But right now I'm still going over my thought process. I'm like, okay, we need to care about the index of the house we're painting, the last color that we did, and the number of neighborhoods. Also, in retrospect, I wish I chose a shorter variable name, because neighborhoods is just really hard. Like, I keep on mistyping, as you will see. But yeah, but now I'm doing the base case. So basically, we painted the last house. Then what does that mean? And I wanted to set up and, even though we have an M and an N, so it's just very confusing to kind of put them together. But you'll see what I do with it later. But okay, but let's say we painted all the houses, then we now check the number of neighborhoods that we have. And I think I'm just double checking something. Yeah, I had to copy and paste because I was worried about typo. So basically, if you reach the target neighborhoods, you have 0 cost at the end, because that means there's a way to complete. And then now, I mean, I had a shortcut that just say, hey, if you have more neighborhoods than target, well, you can't go, like if you have 5 neighborhoods and your target is 4 neighborhoods, well, you can't really go back from 5 to 4, right? So I just skipped that ahead. It's not really necessary, but it just made sense. And then now we just paint it for each color X. But only if we could paint the house. So that's what I'm adding here. So if the color of the house is 0, that means we can paint the house. And then now I think I should have kept the if statement. If I had that if statement, then it would have been, but I was just trying to go ahead. So now I just want to do the base case, well, not a base case, but the different case of if the house is already painted, well, let's paint this house that color, and then we just, for the number of neighborhoods, add whether they're equal. Unfortunately, this is actually a typo, and that actually cost me a lot of time debugging, which we'll find out in a second. But yeah, because if I had kept the if statements, usually I do, then it would be clear what the base or the different transitions are. But basically here, for each color X, from 1 to a number of colors, we paint that house with that color, and then it's increment the number of neighborhoods if they're are equal. Well, in this case, if they're equal, because I messed up. But yeah, and then now that's pretty much it. So I've gotten this at 23 minutes, which is pretty quick. I mean, a little bit longer than that. I would have tested anyway, right? I'm trying to think whether we should start 0 or 1 or target, but it should be 0. I don't know why I wrote target. So I ran taste cases. I was like, okay, this is not right at all. But I also didn't remember to put in the painting cost. So yeah, so I knew that I had to put in the painting cost. But sadly speaking, that's pretty much it. This should be the complete code. But I have a typo in and I don't know how much of it is a typo per se, but I had a miss focus on the last is equal to x. What I want to say is if if the colors are different, increment by 1. If the houses are the same, then keep it the same. Because at this point, I thought I was done, to be honest. Like I was like, I don't think there's anything more unless I missed an edge case. So it was just that I had a typo that I debugged for 6 minutes. So that was kind of painful. Anyway, watch me debug it and then watch me figure it out. Hang out with the other Larry, and I will see you. Well, the other Larry will see you now, but I'm going to just hang out.
By 1. Right. It's kind of dangerous. I think that's right. Edge cases. Oh man, I am dumb. Huh, huh, huh. Oh my, that was okay. So I mean, that's just silly. Sometimes, oh geez, 12,000. I mean, I guess it'll go up, but the two incorrect was pretty silly. And even this one I got pretty quickly, but I got the signs wrong, I think. Uh, well, I don't know. Just one of those days. I had internet issues, and then now I'm 92nd, but there's 10-minute penalty, so that's probably gonna go down. Not gonna make top 100 for that reason, but I mean I did okay, I think, considering. I just had a really bad mind freeze on the third one. I think I'm just rusty from not getting enough sleep. So in general, my recommendation may be just to get enough sleep, because and even Q4, right? Like I got most of it right pretty quickly. It's just that I was debug. I spent too long debugging this thing, which I think is a comment on. I was trying to be. I definitely was trying to be too fast, if that makes sense. Where I was just like, okay, let me write it in this one line, because I think in general I would have maybe the better way to write it is like if last is not if is equal to x, then you don't do something like that with an if statement. But yeah, let's go over the contest right after I catch a breath for a second. But what contest? Not even gonna make it a top 100 because there's too much penalty. Um, but it just didn't load the first one. So the contest self thing is a little bit out of whack because I did them in a weird order. Uh, but in theory, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people had issues. It seems like in the chat, so it's not super clear. I mean, my biggest thing was just Q3. I think I was trying to be a little bit too clever, and then I made two silly mistakes as a result. I mean, one of them should not have happened, and Q4 I did okay, but I made a critical mistake. So yeah, in that I just had to not the signs wrong. It's just that I had a typo in how I was thinking about it, and it took me so long to debug. Well, otherwise, I'm happy that I solved Q4 pretty quickly, like at least in terms of concept. In terms of actually solving it, it's another story. But yeah, okay. So I'm gonna be hopefully top 200. My last contest in Hong Kong, perhaps. But yeah, but. Okay. Whew. Let's go over the problems. Also, there was just loading issues in the beginning, so it is what it is sometimes. Uh, Kind of a messy contest for me, but it's okay. Maybe I just need to get more sleep, to be frank. Okay, let's go. Shuffle the array. So I did these a little bit out of order because if you watch the stream, the internet was just having issues, so that also didn't help. I wasn't sure if it was my internet or Leetcode because it seems like other people are other people are having the same issues with the internet. Okay, let's go. Whew, sorry. Shuffle the array. Given an array nums consists of 2 n elements of this, return the array of the form. Okay, yeah, so this one is just pretty straightforward in that you just, it is a classic shuffle method. Basically, you take, what I did was that I just have 2 pointers, right? One starting at pointer 1, and then the second one starting at the middle, and then just move one at a time. And that's basically what I did here with the pointer to the left, and then an implicit pointer to the right, which is plus half the array, right? And then after that, we put it in the answers, and then that's pretty much for Q1. Yeah. And the only thing that I had to double check was whether it's odd or even, because if it's odd, then maybe we have to, well, then we probably get it off by 1, even if, and an index error. But this was not the case, so that's good. Yeah, pretty straightforward problem. I mean, I don't think this would be an interview question, but it would be part of a bigger interview question. Because definitely, I've seen people give interviews on like, hey, here's a deck of cards, shuffle it with the perfect shuffle or something like that, right? So these things you should probably be practiced on, and this is during a competitive programming, but it also comes up enough during competitive programs, so definitely recommend it. Yeah. Okay, the k strongest value in an array. Okay. The k strong. Let me try again. Sorry, friends. I just woke up, so I'm still feeling like a little bit waking up right now, and I don't know, that's why maybe you see me rub my eyes a little bit. But okay, let's go. K strongest value in an array. So during the contest, I actually solved this first, mostly because of loading issues. But the idea is basically it's just a sorting question. I sorted twice, so you could maybe do something with quick select, but that's just silly, right? On a contest, you just do it as quickly as possible, and your cost is going to be dominated by your latest sort anyway. But basically, the function that we're sorting by, they just call it strongest, but basically it comes up a lot that you want to sort by a function, and the function that you want to sort by is that for each number you convert it to another function that gives you the value of that number. For example, for this array, you take the median, which is 6, and then you take every element and then you subtract it by 6. Or you take the absolute value of the difference and then you sort it by that, right? So that's kind of the idea behind this problem. There are a couple of ways to do it. The way that I did it is that I sorted the array, take the middle element, which is the median, that you would name that, and then I just sorted by this thing. To be honest, this is very not clean. The way that I should have done it would have been that maybe if I wasn't, because I think I'm still too used to certain hacks in competitive programming, so the code is a little bit dreadful. But what I would have done otherwise would just be, there are a couple of things. One is either sort it by the min and then reverse it, or just do what I did, I guess. But the idea is that, okay, at least this is easier in Python. In other languages, a little bit more annoying, but which actually is a little bit unfair now that I think about it, probably because this is like 5 lines of code and I still took a little bit of time. But the idea is that, yeah, it just sorts by the first key, which is the absolute value of or absolute difference between the number and the median, and then secondary key, because the tiebreaker, if it's equal, that is, you take the bigger number. So that's why my second element's here. And then basically what the key function does is that in Python, for each element of the array, it maps that element of the array to this function, and then gives this element, and then sorts by that. And then at the very end, you just take the top k, and that's what we do here. So yeah, so that's Q2 pretty quickly. I did it in a couple of minutes, but Q3. Yeah, this one I really should have gotten very quickly, but I didn't because I just got stuck in a. So the reason why I didn't was that initially I thought, and you probably saw it in the video in anyway. So, but just to recap, was just because I thought that there'll be a performance issue if we need to insert stuff in the middle of the array, which in retrospect, looking at this, I probably did not need to do it or need to care about that. But that's what I was worried about. And then and it's funny because I don't know because I failed the test case, the example case once for one wrong answer just because I think I misread one of the answers or something. But But yeah, otherwise a straightforward problem if you put everything in an array and you just move the array back and forth. And that's how you should have done it. And you probably could have done it in a couple of minutes, but I did it in a silly way because I thought that we have to do some insertions and if you do insertion, it'll be n square. But in this case, the reason why you don't is because this visit, you don't, I mean, you insert in the middle, quote unquote, but then you get to get rid of everything after that. So it ends up being that this is only O of one roughly, depending on how you want to define getting rid of memory. But so yeah, so that makes everything easy. And really should have done this in like 2 minutes or something. But I don't know. Sometimes you just get stuck in a wrong idea, and I end up spending 13 minutes on this problem and got two wrong answers. So it happens. But yeah, cool. Yeah, I think that's what I have for this one. But yeah, I think this is a good interview question though. So definitely practice it in that it is somewhat practical, quote unquote. And they may ask you to design it a little bit more or something like that because this is too easy for an interview. But in terms of like complexity, but they may focus more on the designy problem. Uh, yeah, but this is a little bit too easy for Q3. Said the guy who took 13 minutes or whatever it was, and two wrong answers. But I'm still gonna stand by that. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes it happens. Paint House 3. Paint House 3. So I knew how to do this immediately. Let's refresh this real quick. Paint House 3. So I knew how to do this immediately, but I just had a silly mistake with the signs that took me a couple of minutes to debug, which if you solve everything in 10 minutes, like a couple of minutes is a long time. But so the reason, so yeah, the short story is that this is dynamic programming, and let's go over this a little bit because this is, it's easy to say dynamic programming, but it's hard to, convert that into a solution sometimes, or maybe for me many times. So the idea here is kind of tricky, right? So you're given a thing, like I don't know. Let's just say, okay. Oh, here, houses. So let's say let's say you have a possible answer, right? So the way that I thought about it was that, okay, given this, how many neighborhoods are there? Well, if you're going from left to right, the number of neighborhoods is just the number of changes from left to right, right? So 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 2, and 2 to 1. So I thought about that. And from that allow us to give us a dimension, right? And which is the target. And target is going to be less than m, where m is less than 100, right? So from that, and if we're at a given point in the painting the array, do we care about anything that goes before? Not really. The only thing that I cared about was just making sure that, well, when you're painting this house, let's say this is a 0. When I'm painting this house, what color can I paint this? Well, if it's 1 and 3, then it begins a new neighborhood from what we just talked about as the prefix. And if it's 2, then it continues the previous neighborhood, right? So those are the two possibilities that can happen in terms of painting a color. So from that, what we said was that we only look at the previous house. So that's how we built our what we call the state of the dynamic programming. And from that, index obviously could at most be n. I know this is confusing. So you saw me actually renamed colors to the number of colors, but basically, yeah. So index is the number of houses, right? Because it's the number of houses that you already paint. So index can only go from 0 to n. The last is just last color. So last color is it's just the color of the last house. So that's just from 0 to colors. This is off by 1. If you want to be strict, is this technically this actually goes to this actually goes to n, and actually this does go to colors because I forget that we do one index and then we use 0 for the no color, and then target. Well, target the max number of neighborhoods can only be n, so it's just 0 to n. Right? So what is the complexity, right? Then in this case, this complexity or the space complexity is easier to calculate because that's the number of possible inputs to this, and then we use LRU cache to hash that into a memorization. Hash that into memorization. I think that's just really bad terms, but basically you memorize these type of inputs, and each of them has its own space. So it's for space, this is easy to calculate in theory. So it's n squared times colors, right? And for this, given that it's 100 times 100 times 20, that's roughly, I mean, that's pretty okay, right? And then the other is running time, one time. So that's the way that I always think about it. And because I get this question a lot, especially when it comes to top-down memorization. The way that I analyze dynamic programming memorization is basically it's just the number of number of states times the one-time complexity per state. In this case, this is just the number of states we always said is in this thing times the one-time complexity per state, which in this case is adverse O of colors because we have a for loop here that does colors, roughly speaking. And in this case, that is just O of n squared times colors squared. So yeah, so that's the one-time complexity, that's the space-time complexity, and you could do the math to make sure that they're fast enough, and they are. And yeah, going over the base case, just to be clear, the base case is once we paint all the houses, if the number of neighborhoods hit our target down 0, if otherwise we return negative infinity. We do this just to be faster, though it's not necessary per se. But basically, if you have more neighborhoods than targets, then you can never go back to the target, right? So we return infinity. Otherwise, if we can paint this house, meaning the index is 0, then we try to paint this house with all the possible colors, starting a new neighborhood if it is not equal to the last color. This syntax is what got me a couple of minutes of penalty, not penalty per se, but just debugging because I was just being a little bit lazy. But basically in Python and some certain languages, a true value return is it's equivalent to the number of 1. So that's why I did this way, but I wouldn't urge it. What I would maybe recommend rewriting is doing something like, especially if you're learning. So basically, and this is double negative, so this is bad, but I would have something like if the current painted color is equal to the last color, we just do the neighborhood because we don't increase the neighborhood. Otherwise, we return +1 for increasing the neighborhood. So this is hopefully much easier to read. And then lastly, if we cannot paint the house like the index is already in there, then we just do the same thing. Again, I would rewrite this to be similar to this, where you say, okay, if the current color is equal to the last color, then do this, and so forth. And of course, you increment the index, and you also add that to the cost of painting that color with that house. And then at the very end, just do a minor check for infinity, so that for impossible. Yeah, this is probably too hard for an interview question, though the skills of analyzing this one-time complexity and the space complexity will be handy. Just nice to be better at dynamic programming in general. In terms of competitive programming, this is probably pretty straightforward-ish. Not if you have trouble getting it, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I don't know. I think some of that is also that Leetcode Contest, for whatever reason, has been giving a lot of dynamic programming problems recently. So I've gotten better about it. But you could see from the from other people's self speed that a lot of people has gotten better about it as well. So, so yeah, that's why for this forum. Let's do a quick post-mortem or retro on this thing. Oof, maybe top 200, maybe not. But I mean, my big one was Q3, right? Because let's say I do Q3 in 5 minutes and without the 10 minutes penalty, so that would be 22 minutes of penalty. So that would, if I, even if I spent, yeah, if I spent 5 more minutes, so that would have been, no, wait, I can't do math today. So that would have been, let's say I finished this at 10 minutes, so I have 7 minutes plus 2 more penalties, so that's like 17 minutes of penalty. I would have been at 23 minutes, and then I would have been, I guess, my normal place, right? Even with a slow Q4, what I consider slow Q4. So I just needed to be careful and be smart and slow down a little bit, because that was definitely roughly doable. I don't remember when I made this first submission, but I was pretty quick even then. So I was double checking some off by ones. So 6 minutes before my first submission. So if I gotten right the first time, like it would have been roughly 10 minutes. So, and then without penalty. So that's the big problem for me, this one. And also I just a silly mistake on Q4, but that part I feel like it's okay. Sometimes you make those mistakes, but this one I just had the wrong not the wrong algorithm, but wrong implementation, because algorithm is pretty straightforward. Yeah. Overall, my rating will probably tank a little bit, but that's okay. Cool. Yeah, that's what I have for this contest. I'm just trying to think about what else to say, but yeah, make sure you be careful. I think I definitely rushed it a little bit, but yeah, that's what I have for this contest. Let me know what you did, how you did. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're still here, and yeah, let me know how you did this contest. I'll see y'all next week or whatever, whenever you want to watch the next video. Bye bye.